think the biggest thing that we did right was that we always kept focused on the idea that we had a primary program and a commitment to mission, and no matter what we did, everything else that we did had to feed that primary program. So as a result, the organization grew very organically, and I think that's been our strength. It's very easy to play the grants game of creating programs for money, chasing donors because you think that they might be interested in one little part of what you're doing, or taking advantage of that opportunity that just sounds so good and it's so easy, and somebody just comes to you and says, here, take this money to do this. If it's not really central, if it's not embedded in the mission and the practice of the organization, chances are it's not something that you should be doing. And by focusing on that, you run the risk of losing your focus on what's actually the most important thing, which is the long-term survival of the organization. It's really important to have a good board. It's important to have a supportive board. It's important, as I'm speaking clearly as an executive director, it's important to have a handle on the board, listening to them, but also figuring out how to make sure that they are doing what you need them to be doing, which is really to be supportive of you in your implementation of your shared vision, and make sure that they do indeed have a shared vision with you. We have in our organization a mandate or part of a policy of our bylaws that we have to have a certain number of filmmakers on our board. That's not something that I put into place, but I really appreciate it, and I think it's really important to give your constituents a voice in what happens in the organization. Hire great people, let them do what they're supposed to do. I'm as guilty as the next person of not doing that. I try to do better. It's important, and it's important to pay your staff well. It's hard to find the money, and sometimes we want to cut corners because things are really tight, but you know, we're really proud of the benefits package that we have at Women Make Movies. It's a really great one, and that's because of my fabulous great board, who, as the board of a women's organization, said, like, we have to have a good retirement plan because too many women are old and alone and poor. So we have a great benefits package at Women Make Movies, and I'm very, very proud of it. And I think that's something that young organizations have a hard time. I've spoken with so many not so young executive directors and explained to them that when you first do it, it's a bite. It's like you can't believe that you're going to be writing yet another check, and then you get used to it, and then it's just absolutely part of your operating budget, and you never ever think about it, and you are rewarding your staff in the very, very best way. At Women Make Movies, we have always done a lot of work on kind of organizational structure, and I could call it strategic planning, but it's not by the book strategic planning. We once did that, and we ended up with a document that was pages and pages and pages long, and nobody ever looked at it again. So now I really prefer to just have these kind of retreats where we talk and brainstorm and come up with some new ideas about the organization. Many years ago we did one of these, and we came up with the concept that we serve two constituencies that are really different, and one of them is the makers of films, and the other is the users of films. And once we figured that out, and figured out that we had to think of them in different ways and have different programs for them and serve both of them, but again in different ways, it became much easier for us to structure the organization. So really understanding who your constituency or constituencies are, and figuring out what strategies will work best for them if they're different, is another one of those little bits of wisdom that I've learned over all these years. We never had any capitalization, and you know, that's how businesses grow. You know, somebody invests in them and they use this money. There are resources to get loans, to get program-related investments. I think that that's probably what I would have done. We did do it actually eventually. We made a really good real estate decision and took out a loan for about, back then it was so much money, it was $75,000, which we ended up matching with our own money, which we didn't realize we were going to build out a space and have subtenants so that our rent would be subsidized. So we did later on, but in the beginning, you know, it was just hand to mouth and just scraping away to, like, you know, it was years of you know, not being able to sleep, thinking how I was gonna meet payroll. And that I don't wish on my worst enemy. So if there's any way to get some major grants, to get some capital, it's a really, really smart thing to do.